pray for the coming Mashiach. B'mheira b'yameinu so badly in our days that we could have Tisha B'Av to be a chag, a beautiful chag. But right now, we mourned in the 9 days Tisha B'Av. I was learning a little section I have some difficulty with in Rambam. It talks about the 5 reasons why we have Tisha B'Av. It talks about the destruction. Right. It talks about the destruction of the first base of Mikdash, the second base of Mikdash, and then what the Yidden did. But then it talks about Tornis Rufus, how he plowed through the Heichel. Right. But if we already mentioned about the destruction of the first base of Mikdash and the second base of Mikdash, what does Tornis Rufus now have to be an additional reason?
It almost seems to be included in destruction. Okay. So the Rambam, who got this information from the Mishnah, teaches us 5 different tragedies, as you mentioned. The destruction of the first temple, Beis Mikdash,
all on Tisha B'Av,
and destruction of the second temple,
Tisha B'Av.
And then he talks about Beitar, a city that hundreds of thousands of people were killed, destruction, horrible things happened that
on
day.
Tisha B'Av.
The Meraglim came back with the report, and all the people were destined, and the people in the Midbar were destined to stay in the Midbar 40 years and not go on that day. Those are crises beyond. And then it mentions Tornis Rufus. So what's the death? The death is the following. A person lives in his home and he becomes comfortable with it, and it becomes his little domain. God forbid something happens and he loses his home, the pain is enormous. That won't compare to the pain that he will have when he goes back a month later and sees somebody living in his home. It's true that the destruction of Beis Hamikdash happened on Tisha B'Av. But when we saw Tunis Rufus in our living room destroying our house, that pain on some level was a tremendous pain because it finalized the destruction. The emphasis on this idea is that the Beis Hamikdash was not only a house of God, it was our house. That's the pain of Tisha B'Av. That's the pain of Tisha B'Av. The Gemara tells us that the Kohen Gadol would have bells on the bottom of his clothing in order to announce himself before he walks into the Beis Hamikdash. The language that the Gemara says is, and we learn from here, when a person goes into his house, he should first knock on the door in order to announce himself before he enters into his house. And the idea is that the Beis Hamikdash was our house, and that's why it's so painful. And that's why we mourn. And that's why we pray for one day for the Beis Hamikdash to be rebuilt again. But when we saw an enemy plowing the ground of our house, that was something that
really hit home.
But we've got to remember, every year we put those bricks on, and every year we add to the bricks of previous years. And one day we're going to have enough bricks in order for us to be back in the Beis Hamikdash in Yerushalayim HaKadosh.
Amen.
Amen.
Hopefully that everybody have an easy, meaningful fast on Tisha B'Av and spiritually uplifting days during the 9 days and learning lots of Torah and knowing what it's all about. Thank you for paying attention and listening to us tonight.
Amen.
Have a great day.
Amen.
Wasn't that clip amazing? Subscribe to my YouTube channel to get an endless supply of me.